Alrighty, today we're going to be reviewing the equation of a parabola, okay? Now we've talked about standard form of a parabola many times, but for this particular situation, we're going to be looking at these alternative equations for a parabola. And the reason we use these alternative equations for the parabola is because it tells us many key features. So the key features that we have to worry about are the focus and the directrix. Basically, the focus and the directrix are the point and the line to which our parabola is equidistant from both at the same time. So any point you pick on a parabola will be the exact same distance from the focus and the directrix. Okay? Now, another important feature of our parabola is our vertex. Okay, now the vertex is going to be directly labeled within this form of our parabola. Okay, and this p-value is actually going to represent that actual distance that this vertex is from the focus and the directrix. Okay, so the key to these questions is going to be, when do I have a vertical parabola versus when do I have a horizontal parabola? And to figure this out, we need to pay attention to what is being squared. If you have an x squared, it will always be a vertical parabola, either facing up or facing down. When you have y squared, you will always have a horizontal parabola, either facing right or left. If you can identify the form that you're working with, the rest should be able to follow. Okay, now remember, P is a directed distance from vertex to focus, so we are going to be including the sign which tells us the direction. If I'm ever moving in a negative direction, aka down or to the left, we are going to have a negative p-value. If I'm ever moving up or to the right, we're going to have a positive p-value. So pay attention to the numbers that are on the coordinate plane themselves. So first, can we determine the following characteristics? Well, in order to be able to do that, let's identify if this is a vertical or a horizontal parabola. Well, my y is squared, so that means that it is going to be a horizontal parabola. Okay, which means that it's going to take the form y minus k squared is equal to 4p x minus h. Now, h comma k is my vertex. Okay, so right away we can pick out the vertex by seeing that we have a 5 and a 3 directly in my equation. Now, to find the focus and the directrix, what we now need to find is p, the distance from the vertex to the focus and from the directrix to the vertex. So let's try to line up what goes along with one another. This 8 is in the same spot as this 4p. So 4p is going to be set equal to 8 so we can identify the p-value. Okay, so my p-value in this case is 2, 8 divided by 4. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the graph, right? So if I were to set up a graph for this, and identify my vertex as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, comma 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, my focus should be positive 2 units away from that, meaning I'm moving in a positive direction along my x-axis because it's a horizontal parabola to right here. So this is my vertex, this is my focus. My directrix is going to be 2 units in the opposite direction. So 1, 2. Okay, now remember, the directrix is a line, a dashed line. Okay, whereas a focus is a point. Okay, but once you have all of that drawn out, you can actually kind of get an idea of what our parabola is going to look like. All right, so based off of this p-value, I was able to identify a focus and a directrix. All that's left is picking out what that point is. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, comma 1, 2, 3. And my directrix is 1, 2, 3, x equals positive 3. Now, because it's a line, it's the equation x equals, because x equals is a vertical equation. If we were looking for a horizontal line, we would have to use y equals. Okay? So let's try one more. Determine the following characteristics. So first we have to decide, is it horizontal or is it vertical? Well, x squared is being used, so that means it's going to be a vertical parabola, meaning it goes up or down. We are following the format x minus h squared is equal to 4p y minus k, where h comma k is our vertex. So here's a little tricky part. Notice this is a positive and this is a negative. So that means when I identify my vertex, I have to include a negative sign to change it. So my x value of my vertex will be a negative 3 and my y value will be a 1. Okay, next we have to find our p value. So 4p is going to be equal to this minus 20. When I divide by 4 on both sides, I get p is equal to minus 5, meaning that we are going to go in a negative direction 5 units from the vertex to the focus. So let's graph it. So we have our x and y axis here. Okay, my vertex is 1, 2, 3. Just because. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, comma 1. That is my vertex. And because this is a vertical parabola, my focus is going to be 5 units in a negative direction, which is down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my focus. Where's my directrix? So my directrix is going to be 5 units in the opposite direction. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But because it's a line, right, we're going to draw the dashed line. Okay, now if we were going to draw a quick sketch, remember the vertex always is the base of my parabola, and it opens towards the focus like it's eating it. So that should be the general shape. So what is the coordinate of my focus? 1, 2, 3. So it's negative 3, comma 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4. And what's my directrix? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is a horizontal equation, so y equals a positive 6. Okay, so that is how you find the different values from the equation. But what about when they give you the values themselves and ask you to find the equation? Well, there's a few things we have to pay attention to. First, we have to decide if is it going to be a vertical parabola or is it going to be a horizontal parabola. And we identify that by looking at the directrix, okay? If the directrix is a y equals, right, meaning a horizontal line, that means my parabola is going to be a vertical parabola, because it has to open away from the directrix. So the equation we're going to try and fill is x minus h squared equal to 4p y minus k. Now what do we need? We need to find a p-value. We need to find a vertex value. And to do this, the only real way to make this simple is to actually graph those points that we see, or those lines that we see, and try to figure it out from the picture. So my focus is at 0, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is my focus. So my parabola will open up towards that value. My directrix is negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So the first thing we need to identify is where is my vertex. Now my vertex will always be halfway between them. So it should be halfway between F and my directrix, my focus and my directrix. So there are 12 boxes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 boxes here. So my vertex is going to be 6 boxes away from that. So counting again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 6 from the other? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my vertex is going to be that point right there, which actually works out to be 0, 0. Okay, so I can plug in x minus 0 and y minus 0. And while we're at it, we can actually identify my p-value. Remember, my p-value is the directed distance from my vertex to my focus. So we already know that it's a 6, but it's also going to be a positive 6 because we are moving up towards my focus. So 4 times 6 goes there. So now all that's left is to write it as simplified as possible. So we don't need to write the zeros. And we get x squared equals to 24y. Okay, sometimes you will see this as 1 over 24 x squared by solving for y. But this is typically an acceptable answer. So let's try one more. Write the equation of the parabola with a focus of 7, -2 and a directrix of x equal to -1. So if my directrix is equal to an x value, that means it's going to be a vertical directrix, which means that in order for my parabola to point away from it, it has to be horizontal. Okay? So this means that we have a horizontal parabola, which means that we are going to follow the equation y minus k squared equal to 4px minus h. Okay, so when in doubt, draw it out. Okay, so I'm going to draw my coordinate plane. My focus is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2. My directrix is x equal to -1. Okay, so now we need to find the halfway point from here to there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes, which means that P is going to be half of that. So P is going to be 4 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So my vertex is going to be right there. And it is going to open up towards my focus. So is my p-value going to be positive or negative? Well, we're moving in a positive direction, so it is going to be positive. So it's a positive 4. So let's fill in the values. What is my vertex? That's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it is y minus 2 squared equal to 4 times 4 x minus 7. So since there's nothing really left to simplify except the 16, that would be a perfectly acceptable answer for this equation.